Today, I am thrilled to be talking with another one of my star Low Content Profits Academy students, Inbal Amit. Now, while Inbal struggled to make money with her first attempts at low content publishing, she is now a #1 best-selling author with hundreds of 5-star reviews. But that's not even the main headline here. Inbal has since parlayed her KDP success into a booming digital course business, a community of over 200,000 students, and even her own TV show. Now, in our chat, Inbal describes her journey from a string of flop books to finding success in a niche that capitalizes on her strengths and her passion, her step-by-step strategy for building a multi-pronged, multi-income stream business, the struggles she had to overcome along the way, and her valuable advice to anyone who's starting out with low content publishing today. Now, if you finish this chat feeling super inspired like I did, and you want to learn how to build a passive income publishing business with simple to create books, like journals, planners, workbooks, activity books, and more, watch my free on-demand masterclass, Publish and Profit. I have linked to that down in the description below. All right, let's get into it. Hello, Inbal. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Super excited to speak with you as always. I would love to start off just by hearing about just the beginning of your journey with low content publishing. When did you start with that? And why did you start with the low content publishing?
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here. So I teach Hebrew, and from day one, I knew that I wanted to teach Hebrew better. I already got a lot of feedback from people who tried to learn Hebrew, whether they were still in the process or they gave up. But I got a lot of feedback that the programs that were out there and the resources that were out there were not great. And Hebrew is not the easiest language. So this combination, I was kind of like, maybe there is a niche here that I can really help people, and maybe I can do things different. And I knew that my first product that I wanted to put out there, which I thought maybe would be my only product, but the first thing that I thought of were books. And they were books on how to read and write Hebrew. So I really thought of one book, which is like the intro, Hebrew 1, and really it teaches you how to write because it's an entire new alphabet. So it really teaches you how to write in print letters, and it gives you all the foundation. So I knew that I wanted to put this book out there. I didn't have any budget. I was completely trying this thing to see if people like what I have to offer, really developing something from scratch that is very different from how people teach Hebrew and how to write. I just heard about this thing called Amazon KDP. I was following this woman called Rachel on YouTube, and I was like, this sounds great because I don't need to figure out the publishing aspect of it. I don't need to invest in a budget except for my time, which was a lot, but it was only my time. It was basically taking your course, which was so helpful, on how to do this correctly because I wanted to do it properly, and investing months in just developing this thing, putting it into a book, designing it myself to the best of my ability, uploading it correctly, and just putting it out there. That was my first introduction to Amazon KDP.
That's so cool. So rather than coming at this as, okay, this is an opportunity for me to make some passive income, which, I mean, honestly, that's why most of us are drawn to this specific opportunity. So you came at it already with an idea in your head, like you kind of knew what the larger vision for a business was, and you came across this and thought this was kind of your best bet as an entry point. Is that right?
Yes, it was. At the end of the day, it was my way of trying to create income. I knew that I wanted to work from home. I knew that I moved to the US. I knew that I didn't want to apply to positions in the American market. I didn't feel I had an added value there, doing everything that I did before, teaching and doing copywriting and basically working in Hebrew and in English in Israel. I didn't feel that I could compete well. And I was an entrepreneur in my early 20s in Israel, being a translator and having a translations agency. And I knew that it was the best thing for me to do my own thing. The question was, what should I do? So I kind of researched what are the best options today, because it was so many years after, 2 decades after I was an entrepreneur, everything changed. And I wanted to see what are the options out there. And then it kind of connected with Hebrew. And after a few trials and errors in print on demand, in creating coloring books, but with no niche, just trying to put things out there and seeing how hard it is, how easy it is, how well received it is. So I put things out there. I was like, okay, I got the technical part of it, but there was basically, it was doing nothing. It had no niche, I was just putting things out there that I thought were good, were pretty. And then I was like, okay, it has to be connected to a meaning. It has to be connected to this added value, to something that I connect with, and to something that I can bring to the table beyond creating another nice coloring book or notebook. And that's how I was like, maybe I could teach Hebrew, maybe I could teach how to read and write different.
So I'd love to hear about just the evolution from, that first published Hebrew book to what you've built now, and maybe just give an explanation of what your full business looks like today, because it's very different than just, a couple of books on KDP. You've done amazing things here. So just describe that journey from book one to what you've built today.
Oh, it was so exciting, and still is. So basically I put Hebrew 1, the first book. I had the weeks after it went live, which was so exciting. And you see one sale and another sale and another sale. And I was in the process of getting the book and finding, because it's a 99-page book that has so much detail in it. And I was like, oh, I have a typo here, fixing it, getting a new book. Oh, I have a typo here, fixing it, getting a new book. My husband was like, another book is coming in the mail. So I had that for a while. But after I passed that stage, I started social media accounts. I think it was Instagram and Facebook around the time where Hebrew 1 went live. And I actually sent the book to influencers who had audiences that were relevant to learning Hebrew. Either they were Jewish or Christian with connection to Hebrew. And I just contacted probably 50 influencers, bigger, smaller. And I said, hey, I have this new book that teaches how to write Hebrew. Would you like me to send you one? And if you would like it, feel free to share it with your audience, but no strings attached. It's a gift from me, and you can decide what you want to do with it. I got probably an exciting yes from 95% of them. I sent the books. It was easy because it was through Amazon. I would just ship it directly from Amazon to them, to each one. And I got a lot of influencers very quickly looking at the book. Many of them either taught their kids Hebrew, because most of them were American or in Europe, not in Israel, so they don't learn Hebrew in school. So either they try to teach Hebrew to their kids, or they had experience themselves with the traditional ways of teaching Hebrew. They saw this thing, and I guess they were excited because I started getting all these videos with people tagging me saying, here's a great new book, here's a great new approach to teaching Hebrew. This is so exciting. So obviously that created an echo, and people started buying the books more and more, the book back then. And I was working on Hebrew 2, because at that point, when I saw that it was well received and I was getting all these positive reviews on Amazon, I was like, okay, we have something here. So I was working on Hebrew 2, again, a few months. And after that came Hebrew 3 that completed the series. So Hebrew 1, 2, and 3, complete all your reading and writing skills. And then I was like, okay, I'm set with the program for reading and writing. And at that point, I started my YouTube channel and started learning how to do videos and being on camera, which is something that is very unnatural to me. And until this day, it's not one of my favorite things. And video and audio and all the evolution of that. And getting monetized, which took me about a year. It was a very long process until I got monetized. So I had Hebrew 1, 2, and 3. I added to that Hebrew notebooks that were matching my method and my approach. They were right to left, as Hebrew is. They had my phonetic system that at that point I developed to help English speakers, because my entire approach is tailored to English speakers. So I had all my book series on Amazon, and it was working great. And at that point, I was already a bestseller for Hebrew 1 and at times for Hebrew 2, which was definitely thanks to your course, because I don't think I would ever be a bestseller without your course, because I see the direct connection. So I'm always grateful to you for that as well. And after that, I knew that the next step would be to do the second part of my curriculum. So I had a program for reading and writing. I was like, okay, now I want to do an online course for speaking and understanding, because it doesn't make sense to be in a book. It makes sense to be in videos. So I knew I wanted to do an online course. Again, thanks to you, I was introduced to Amy Porterfield. I now took her course, which after your course was my second course that I invested in, and I launched my online course. So that was about a year and a half after I started, after my first book went live, and the course was a great success. I got so much positive feedback, and now the course, it very quickly bypassed the books when it comes to an income. So now I was kind of like, okay, we're in a much better place financially. The place where I wanted to get to, I reached it, which was a huge success for me, because there are so many levels to success and how you defined it. Money-wise, that was a really big one for me, because I had to reinvent myself in this new country and, make a living. So I really felt like I got there, which was huge. So there are the books, there is the course, and together they cover all the basics in Hebrew. And then I have, what I do is that, first of all, everything is like a closed system. In the books, you hear about the course, and in the course, you hear about the books, and in YouTube, you hear about everything. And obviously, in between the books and the course, I started an email list, which is by far the most important thing. So I started an email list. I put together a website, quick and dirty. It's still my website, haven't changed it. And I started sending an email once a week, regular, no exceptions. So once a week, there's an email that is usually a Hebrew lesson exclusive for people on my email list. And then I thought, okay, but I really want people who finish my reading and writing program, my books, or my conversational program, my course, to not be like, okay, I finished this program, now what? Now I need to find a different program. I didn't want them to be in that situation. So I was like, okay, so I can really put bite-sized Hebrew lesson every single day on social media, and that would be their lifetime free membership to practice and build upon everything they learn in my programs, because it is using my method and my phonetic system and my approach and me. And it will be just this continuation where you invested in getting my programs, I invest in you forever. So this is kind of like this microcosmos.
It's like a whole full
Hebrew.
ecosystem. Yeah.
Yes. Ecosystem is exactly the word I was looking for. Thank you. I wanted to create a 360 that is not really like, you bought my book, great, you finished it, now goodbye. I really wanted to create a relationship. I feel that being on social media and really replying to people and creating these relationships. And then they are in your program and they communicate with you inside the course or send you an email because they're taking your book. It really creates a relationship. And the fact that you keep on giving them, and it's all about the value that you give them always, and they feel that in every way, it created, first of all, very loyal customers, but it also created a very warm, loving community online that I have now over 150,000 followers online. And I really feel that I'm getting a lot of messages from people that this is a very safe community for them, especially nowadays. And it's like beyond Hebrew, it's just like-minded people celebrating the same values and celebrating cultures and celebrating the language and its connection to culture.
This is all so wonderful. I mean, every few seconds there is something I wanted to pull out of that. I mean, there's just so much there to kind of unpack. I love that you've created, as you said, this complete ecosystem, and each piece of it is feeding the next piece. But I also love that you were able to do this one step at a time. You weren't trying to be everywhere all at once right from the beginning. It started with your books. I believe you said from there you started your social media account, and then your YouTube channel, and then your course. You were very deliberate, it seems like, with each step that you took and how each new step would tie back nicely to the previous step. And now you've got this sort of like self-sustaining system. And on top of it all, you've created this amazing community where you have positioned yourself as this authority in your space, the go-to person where people can come for your amazing trainings, but they also feel like they're in this safe, caring, trusting community. I mean, really, this is just a perfect example of how to do things. Did you have your complete vision? Like when you were doing your books, did you know that this was going to end with a course? Or was that still, you were just sort of taking one step at a time? Or was that vision there? You just knew, okay, I got to take this step first and then that step and then that step.
When I worked on the first book and I put it out there, no, because I didn't know how well it would be received. I literally teach different from anyone else. I never opened a Hebrew textbook. I wanted to have a clean mind and like tabula rasa, just a clean slate, so I won't be just affected and influenced by how others teach. And to see if the way that I teach it, that is really tailored to English speakers, because that's the second language that I had so much experience in living it and working in it for so many years, maybe I could help people really transition from English to Hebrew. So that was always my mindset. But when I was creating the first book, I was like, if people won't like it, if people won't say, this really helped me, obviously, there's nothing to talk about. So I don't think I was really thinking beyond that. When I got such positive response to the first book, I was like, okay, I have something here. So now let's see what are the next steps. And then it was kind of easy for me to outline this ecosystem that one feeds the other and keeps me working on everything, but really free to work at my own location, time, and just basically not being tied up to specific time slots.
Right. I think this is something really important that you just said too, is that you use these books as a barometer to test the market. I mean, the book really was market research. Is there a demand for, where you might go, like what the next logical step might be for a business model? Such a wonderful way to collect that information and make money at the same time.
I have to say that not everything that I tried after I dove into this niche and started with the books, I had things that I tried that didn't work for me. I opened a Shopify store for products that were all supporting Israel and Hebrew. And these were designs that I was putting on my social media media, teaching people Hebrew words and mixing in illustrations. And people were like, we love the illustrations. We would buy a book with these illustrations. So I was like, okay, so I'm gonna put it on products. And I opened a Shopify store and I invested months in designing an entire collection, and it didn't sell. It didn't sell in the amount that it was working for me. And so I think part of it is also to be like, just like you said, if something is working, increase it, just pour a lot into it so you will just scale. But if something is not working within the 2, 3, 10 things that you're doing, it's not working, pivot. It's totally fine. I closed the Shopify store and I don't even think about it. Now you were speaking about it and I was like, I also had a Shopify store. It's not even in my mind because it just wasn't working. So I think that's part of it as well.
That's another really great point. I think when we look at someone who's experienced success like yourself, we oftentimes don't hear about all the things that didn't work on the way to what finally did work. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I think a lot of us, we feel bad when something works. We feel like, okay, this isn't working, or maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And no, anyone that's experienced any level of success has gone through many experiments that did not work, many even iterations of what finally did work that didn't work. And so it's very important to remember that pathway to success is oftentimes littered with failures of different types. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I think it's very helpful to hear that. Just going back to the books for a second, I'm curious, did you put any marketing efforts into those books, or was it really just based on, you did your keyword research and you put them up and people found them? Were you spending ads? Were you promoting them on social media or anything like that? Because that's a big question that I get asked a lot, is like, my book's published, now how do I get the word out and market them?
So I followed the approach of, don't start by doing ads for your book. See if your book stand on its own and is selling on its own. And if it is selling good enough, then pour more into it by running ads. I started with completely organic, again, reaching out to influencers, sending them copies of the books. And so I would get all this organic. None of it was affiliate. It was just people who loved it and decided to share it. So I think I started running ads somewhere around a year after the first book went live. And I did it by myself. I basically have this default campaign that is running all the time for all my books. I invested one time in keywords. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I didn't really dive into Amazon ad campaign as maybe I should. I'm just pretty happy with the fact that sales are good and they're increasing over time. So I'm just investing my time in other places. But yeah, I feel, at least for me, that it was a good approach to see if the books are selling on their own. And then if they are, just adding an ad campaign.
So I'd love to find out, you've obviously created this massive success for yourself. Is there anything that you can point to in terms of, like, why do you think you've been so successful in the way that you have and at the scale that you have?
I think that it is a combination. It's funny because I had a conversation very recently with a very nice woman that I met, that she's trying to find her way in being an entrepreneur. And we kind of brainstormed together, and I told her, and she was trying to find her niche, or she had a lot of experience and she was like, I don't know what way to turn. And I told her, one question that I wouldn't know to ask myself when I started, but I would know to ask myself now is, I can do a lot of things wonderfully. I can do this and this and this, and they would all be above average. But what is the thing that I feel that I can provide the most added value? And I feel that that thing can have many shapes and can take many shapes and forms. It can be the service and the how much you care and how attentive you are, and it can be the fact that you're innovative, and it can be the way that you deliver a product or a service, or a combination of everything. I feel that in my case, it is a combination of the fact that I put my heart into everything that I do, and that starts with the product, and it goes all the way to answering people and being there for them when they have a question, or when something goes wrong and we need to resolve it as people and they have someone to turn to. So it's a combination of that with the innovative part, the fact that I just teach Hebrew different in a way that actually works for people. The fact that when we learn a new language, what we all do is we translate from our mother tongue to the new language. We all do that. So I just teach you that way. I take English and then we transition from English to Hebrew. And that really helps people just understand this weird thing that is called Hebrew. And once someone helps you kind of jump over the obstacles easier, you stay in the game longer, and you're more motivated and you're more rewarded. And that thing has a huge impact on something that is so long-term and so grand, like learning a language. So I feel that it's the innovative part that just works, the different methods and the different approach, with the fact that they all know, all the thousands of people that took my programs, took my course, starting with my books, or just following me all around the world. They know my teacher is Inbal, and if I contact her, she will answer. And if I'll have an issue, she will be there. And people constantly talk about, do you sleep at night? Like, how are you there for all of us, always? So it's that thing that people, like your audience, what does your audience need? Like, what do they need? I found that what people need is an easier way to learn Hebrew, and a way to have a teacher there for you without having a private teacher, without having a tutor, without going into class that is every Monday between 4 to 6 or whatever it is. So you can have flexibility, but you always have a teacher. Think when you answer, what does your audience really need? And you can provide that to them, and it can take many shapes and forms. It just works.
Yeah, I mean, you've really hit the nail on the head there. I mean, when you look at it that way, setting up a successful business, it's very simple. It's just give people what they need, right?
Yes.
But it can be difficult to put it into practice, but that really is the simplicity of it. If you can just provide the type of value that people are looking for, you've got a business. And I think it's just so incredible that you did something completely different. It was like, well, no, I don't think this way works. I think my way works better. And then you had the guts to just go ahead and do that, and do these smaller experiments with the books, in your social media account, to figure out, like, are people going to receive this? And of course they did. And now you've just built this incredible business around it. I think it's wonderful. I'd love to just find out, you've had all the success now. What has that meant for you? Just in terms of, how is your life different now? And what does it mean to you that you were able to take this idea and bring it to fruition in this wonderful way? How does that feel?
That's a great question. It really provides me a lot of meaning in many ways. First of all, thousands of miles away from home, and no one around me speaks my language. And this allows me to get up every morning and have a direct connection with Israel and with Hebrew, and with people who love Israel and love Hebrew. So that in itself gives me so much meaning. And I am okay with saying that I am proud of myself. Like, I feel a sense of accomplishment. I always loved two things. I always loved creating things from scratch. And in my different jobs in the Israeli high tech and as a translator, I always loved creating things from scratch. So I always loved that. And the other thing that I always loved, I'm a huge fan of poetry. And the reason I love poetry, which is funny to even say because why not love poetry? But the reason I love poetry is because it really takes concepts and ideas and delivers them with so little words. And there is such huge impact with so little words. So you need to really refine the whole thing to one word or two. So I love this refinement. And I feel that what I love about what I put out there is that I refine these concepts and then I kind of twist them and I put them out there, not in the form of poetry, but in the form of what do you want to achieve? How can we reverse engineer it? How can we simplify it? And now I'm going to deliver it to you from a different perspective, from a different angle, and then it works. And so it really, I have a sense of accomplishment that I created everything from scratch. Like none of it existed in the world before. And that is a great feeling. And the fact that it is kind of like refining concepts, changing them and delivering them differently. I love that process. So I
agree.
I do feel
super
proud.
fun. Yeah, well, you should. I just love your story and I love everything that you've built. I think it's absolutely incredible. And it's just super inspiring for me, but anyone watching as well. I'd love to know what your advice is to someone who's just getting started with self-publishing, especially low content books. If someone wants to succeed with low content publishing, what is your advice to that person just starting out?
Well, my advice would be, first of all, see if you already put something out there, see if it's working. If you have one book or two books that are doing incredible, try to see why are they doing incredible and if you can do more of it. I am a huge believer of a niche, and try to see again if you can provide an added value, if you can find something that you feel that you have a connection to, that you learned from your own life experience, that you went through yourself, that you have this knowledge, something that you can give, not necessarily something that doesn't exist out there. Many ideas already exist, but sometimes when you deliver it different, or your support or customer service will be better, or something will just give people more added value. Try to find this combination of maybe a meaning, a connection, an added value, and try to see what niche it fits into. And then see if you can, and maybe it's more than one niche, but I think try to see if you have these islands that you can invest in one island or maybe in two. And I would definitely advise, which is something that I didn't do and I'm doing right now, I just went live with a second edition to all my books. I added a free course to my books as far as the ecosystem, because that connects them to my email list, and then I can talk to them, and then I can support them better and give them more value. And this second edition, I expanded beyond Amazon, because I personally had a lot of glitches with Amazon and I didn't want all my eggs in one basket. Even if I have more eggs, I didn't want these eggs to be in one basket. And there's no reason to just be only on Amazon. And in this context, I would highly recommend, which is something that I corrected right now, to get your own ISBN. So not if you have 100 low content books, if you have 1 or 2, 3, 4 books that you're like, these are my winners, these are the ones that I want to put everywhere, get your own ISBN, put your book with your own ISBN on Amazon, and then put it on Ingram Spark, on Lulu, on anywhere else that you want, because then your books will just have a worldwide distribution and you won't be dependent on Amazon only.
Those are all really great tips. Thank you. So before I let you go, where can people find you? First of all, what's next? Because you strike me as someone who's always got another idea cooking, percolating. So what is next, and where can people find you? If they want to check out your stuff or learn more about what you're doing, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be intrigued after seeing you here. So yeah, where can people find you and what's next?
So you can find me anywhere, Hebrew by Inbal. That's Hebrew by Inbal is Inbal. You can find me anywhere on social media, literally anywhere and everywhere. But you can find my website, and all my resources are there and on Google as well. What's next is I have 2 products that I'm very excited about, and they are in the book category. So I have a children's book that is basically ready, and I need to put it out there. And again, like my other books, it is something that didn't exist before. It incorporates my unique approach, and I'm very excited about it. So next is a children's book, and then readers for people who completed my books and now want readers, because that's another thing that has a very big demand and very low products out there, which are good Hebrew readers. So again, I'm going to create them very different from anything that exists out there. So this year is all about children's book and readers. And I also have my own TV show, which just launched, where I help people improve their Hebrew by watching Israeli TV shows and movies. And this is something that came to me. So just know that when you're out there and you're doing your thing and you're kind of like, things will come. Just do what feels good to you and what works and what people want, and the things will come to you as well.
That must have been such a pinch me moment. I mean, when I heard that you had a TV show, I was like, what? Wait a minute. Say that again. Which is just, I mean, huge congratulations. That was just so fantastic and so inspiring. And I'm sure that was something that was never even on your radar when you first started. And it just goes to show, like,
I was literally approached by the CEO, and he was like, hi, how do you feel about, I saw you and it's great. How do you feel about doing a TV show? I was like, yes, what is happening?
Yeah, it's amazing. Especially, you know, you mentioned at the beginning, you've never really been super comfortable on camera, and it's like, well,
and still.
So let's slap her on TV. That's amazing. It's just so fantastic. You also mentioned that you've got an affiliate program. Do you want to share anything about that for anyone who might be interested?
Yes, definitely. So I have a new affiliate program for my course. I think it's a very generous one. And if anyone has an audience that would like to learn Hebrew, if it fits your audience and you would like to enjoy more financial freedom by promoting my conversational course and getting a commission for every sale and every new student, just reach out and just send me an email and we'll discuss it. Definitely.
Great. Well, Inbal, thank you so much for joining me. It's always so wonderful chatting with you and hearing about, you know, the next level of success that you've reached. You've done so much over these past couple of years, and it's just so thrilling to hear about it. And I'm excited to hear what comes next. I mean, I don't know what comes after a TV show, but I'm sure it's going to be something. So thank you again. I know this is really informative and inspiring for anyone watching. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And as I told you before, you had a very big part of it as my first mentor. And I don't have a lot of mentors. and you and your course, and just you had a very, very big part of it, and I always owe it to you. And besides the fact that you're a wonderful human being, and I saw it through YouTube when I was just starting, it's really, I really feel very grateful for your help when I started, because it changed everything for me. So that's very important to say as well.
Well, thank you so much. That, of course, goes straight to the heart. All right. Thank you so, so much.
Now, if you want to learn the exact system Inbal used to get started on her wildly successful self-publishing journey, watch my free masterclass, Publish and Profit, linked to down below. And to see how another one of my star LCPA students, Kim George, went from 0K months to 11K months on KDP, watch this video next. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next Monday. Thanks for watching.